If you're gearing up for your next big paint project, stop before you make a decision you'll regret. Before you go and drop top dollar at your local Sherwin-Williams store, there's another paint company that could be a better option for you, whether you're a professional or a do-it-yourselfer. I'm gonna go over this paint company, also compare it to Sherwin-Williams, and ultimately at the end of the video, I'll help you make a decision which way to go, whether you're a pro or an average Joe / Jane. The company is called Valspar, and it's existed for over 2 centuries, which is more than most companies can actually say. They started in Boston and were responsible for the first ever clear varnish, which is quite the thing to be able to brag about. You can find Valspar at some smaller paint retails, but by far the most common place you might have seen this paint is at Lowe's, which is one of those big box hardware stores. Much like other prominent paint companies, Valspar has a wide range of interior and exterior products that you can use, whether you're the high volume contractor or someone that's looking to repaint their powder room with a high quality scrubbable paint. The specific products themselves may vary based on your region, but you have your contractor grade paints for a more affordable price, your entry level retail stuff, your more premium line, and then your top of the line. And then of course there's some specialty paints and varnishes and cabinet enamel coatings, things like that. They also have really awesome paint colors in their collection, which I like, including a color of the year, which has yet to be announced for 2023, although we did make a 2022 Valspar color of the year video last year. But of course we patiently wait for 2023. I'm not patient. So the question is, why would you potentially want to use Valspar over Sherwin-Williams? Why do we gotta make it so combative over here? Well, I see 3 reasons of increasing importance. The first one being product selection. This may be the least important one because Sherwin-Williams also has plenty to choose from, but Valspar is no slouch when it comes to options. Whether you want to go with simplicity, contractor coat, ultra, signature, whichever paint resonates with you based on your needs and your budget, there's an option for it. But like I said, Sherwin-Williams has tons of different products too, so not a huge reason to sway your decision. The second one is a slightly bigger deal, and that's availability, because you can find Valspar at Lowe's, which means you don't have to rely on having a Sherwin-Williams store nearby to get your paint. If your town doesn't have very many specialty paint stores, not to worry, you just need to head to Lowe's, and lo and behold, there's Valspar right there. Now, for the biggest reason you would want to pick Valspar over Sherwin-Williams for your next paint project is cost. Price is always a consideration when it comes to paint products, and this is especially the case with inflation and rising prices. Why not save money wherever you can? Now, don't quote me on this because everything is dependent on location, but in my area, I often see a 20% price difference between Sherwin-Williams and Valspar in comparable products. Before I get into my final recommendations, you may be wondering why I'm even comparing these 2 companies in the first place. What do they have in common besides being paint companies? I got a surprise for you. Sherwin-Williams purchased Valspar a handful of years ago, so now they're owned by the same company. I see these 2 companies as Lexus and Toyota. Same ownership, serving slightly different needs. Lexus is cool and all. I mean, we all love a Lexus, but sometimes you just need something that's reliable to get from point A to point B. Here are my final recommendations for you all, whether you're a pro or a DIY person. For my pros watching, I'm pretty sure you know which products you like to use based on your experience. With rising costs of materials, there is a clear advantage by going with Valspar for your project because of that massive amount of money you might save on paint, especially if you're someone that gravitates towards those more high-end premium lines. Apples to apples, Valspar Signature is quite a bit cheaper than Sherwin-Williams Emerald. Not identical paints, but both give you really solid coverage and excellent durability for your customer. Some may argue that you could save money by going with the more expensive paint if you're using less of it, but in a typical situation where you're doing 2 coats either way, Valspar will save you money. At the same time though, if you're a pro, you can justify going with the more expensive Sherwin-Williams paint by just pricing it into your projects and then passing that cost onto your customer. I would still recommend you try something like Valspar Signature out just to assess it, But we all know I will not be convincing you one way or another, and that's not really my goal here anyway. My focus is on the consumer at home that is looking to repaint their kid's bedroom, because maybe they're just getting a bit old for that powdery baby blue you used 5 years ago, and you're looking for a paint to do the job. Consider going with Valspar, or at the very least, do some research and see what's around you and what are the different prices that are available. You could argue that Sherwin-Williams has slightly better coverage, but in a lot of cases, you'll have to do at least 2 coats anyway. So do you want to do it with a $50 paint or a $70 paint? In some cases, you can get the high-end Valspar paint for a similar price to a mid-level Sherwin-Williams. Now I want to end off with 2 massive caveats here for all of this. The first one is obvious. If you've already been using Sherwin-Williams paint and you love the experience, then the path of least resistance is just sticking with what you know. Yeah, you could experiment with something else if that's what you're into, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The other consideration is color. Really light, bright paint colors, as well as those deep, dark, and vibrant ones, are notoriously difficult to work with. So in those cases, it would be worth stepping up to the either high-end signature line in Valspar, or even consider something like Sherwin-Williams Duration or Emerald, which are going to be the more expensive paints in this video. Unless you find some Sherwin-Williams on sale, which happens pretty often actually. And if that's the case, then Sherwin-Williams all the way, baby. I mean, I love a good deal.